Welcome to our today's session, Introduction to SPSS, specifically data entry. So let me start by sharing my screen and just confirm if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see it.
Yeah, so we're going to start by looking at the overview of SPSS. So SPSS stands for Statistical Package for the Social Sciences. And it is powerful software used for statistical analysis, data management, and data documentation. So it's widely used in social sciences research, market research, health research, and any other field, because that is the origin of SPSS. And then some key concepts in SPSS. SPSS itself has two tabs: data view and variable view. In data view, the table is a tab where the data is entered. So that means that each row represents a case, or each row represents a response, or each row represents an observation, while each column represents a variable. And the variable view is where we write or define the variables in the data. So there is where we set the properties of the variable, for example, name, type, label, measure, value, and stuff like that. SPSS also, apart from the navigation, the interface interaction, it has syntax. So syntax is like a code that is generated once you output anything in SPSS. So SPSS has its syntax as well. While the point and click interface is user friendly. So majority of the people usually use the point and click interface for SPSS. So SPSS syntax can enhance efficiency and productivity. So if you want to reproduce any output, you can use syntax, but point and click is usually the common one. People usually make use of it. Up to there, we can go to more details about the data entry process in SPSS. So first of all, we must start by understanding the variables and their data types. So every time you have data, be it a questionnaire, be it any kind of data that you have, manual data, field manual forms, field registers of your data, you need to understand their data types. So there is where we have nominal, we have ordinal, and we have scale. So nominal, these are categories without specific order. For example, gender, for example, marital status, for example, things like your employment status, some things like maybe the desired programs, things that have no, like departments, things that have no rank. That's what we call the nominal. And ordinal, these are categories with a specific order. For example, the level of satisfaction, you can say very satisfied, very unsatisfied to very satisfied, things like that. Likert scale, with each value you're assigning to it having significance. And then we have scale. These are continuous data that can be measured. So someone is on the call. Let me just add. Okay. So once you have the scale is where you can have things like age, things like income, and it's continuous or discrete. So that's what scale is. Weight. Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you explain about the ordinal again?
Okay. Ordinal, I'll be able to share this with you. the material you'll be able to receive. I sent you a link for the management system, learning management system in your email. So I'll be able to upload this there. But all in all, what it does is that the data is categorical and has rank. Data is categorical and has rank. Data is categorical and has rank. For example, the level of intensity, low, high, medium. So that means that when you are defining maybe low to be 1, medium to be 2, high to be 3. You cannot say low is 2. You cannot say medium is 1. You see? So there is some order in the arrangement. That is ordinal from the word order. And then nominal is where you don't have to. It's categorical, yes, but there is no rank. Any value can take male, any value can take female. We are going to look at that when we'll be assigning data values in the SPSS itself. Can I proceed?
Yes.
Okay. So setting up your data, so you need to understand the variable naming rules. So variable name should start with a letter. Variable name should start with a letter. In SPSS, we are going to look into that while naming variables. The variable does not contain spaces, and the variable cannot be longer than 64 characters. So, that having been said, once we give a name to a variable that follows this pattern, we can be able to more explain about a variable using labels. So labels are what we call labeling variables. So we provide a clear and descriptive variable labels to understand the data better. For example, it is a questionnaire. What is your gender? You see? What is your level of education? All those stories you can type under label, but not under variable. Variable just define level of education with underscore. Underscore is the only allowed parameter that we can use to easily understand the data. But SPSS itself, sometimes it can allow the other special characters, but as long as the starting character is a number, it must be is a letter, sorry. Starting character must be a letter, either a small letter or a capital letter. But it does not allow spaces. That is the stretching point. You cannot say level space of space education. We are going to test all that in SPSS and see how it works. And from there, label values, these value labels, these are things go with the categorical data, because we said when you want to conduct any analysis, we said that when we want to conduct any analysis, we must specify, for example, any analysis on a categorical data, we must specify label codings to our variables. For example, for us to perform an analysis for gender we know it is string, but by the time we select the data type, we say that it is numeric, because we are going to assign it values, numeric codes, to represent the strings. So we are going to look into that under values and labels. And then from there, we can be able to enter and edit data that we have. So we can switch to data view, we can switch, as we are going to see how we can switch between viewing as numbers and viewing as data. So the rules for data validation is that for data entry is that we must regularly validate the data entry so that we can check any errors while we are doing the entry. Because remember, garbage in, garbage out. So data management and cleaning, you need to handle missing values, missing data. So you can define and manage missing values in the variable view. You can also say missing value, give it a very big value that you can be using it to reference it as a missing value. That is when during the definition of a variable. So that when anytime you enter that value, SPSS will know that that is a missing value. It represents a missing value if you don't want missing value in your data. Recording variables, that means that you may want to combine variables into categories. For example, if you had an example of BMI and you want to create levels for BMI or age bracket, let me talk about age. You have age of people and you want to create age brackets. So you can also do in SPSS and you can cover it more under exploratory data analysis. Once you have learned about data entry, you can be able to learn more about exploratory data analysis, where you can be able to create categories from age, which is continuous, discrete, which is discrete numeric, to categorical data. For example, age below 18, 18 to 24, 25 to 34, and maybe above 35. So creating such like things, you can also do it in SPSS, which we call transforming variables. And then also we have compute variables, where you can be able to compute variables from the existing variables. For example, you can calculate the BMI from the weight and height, where height has to be in weight has to be in kgs, and your height has to be in meters. Yeah. So that is the introduction to SPSS, and we can now go to the practical part of it. And the practical part of it, I want you to share your screen, because we already did the installation for SPSS. So I want you to share your screen. I will stop presenting so that you can be able to share your screen, so that we guide you from what you see and not what we see. Yeah. So I'll stop sharing my screen so that you can be able to share yours. In case you cannot see the share button, you let me know. Jacqueline. Yes.
Okay, give me a minute.
Okay, thank you. Hello, Rael and Marilyn. Thank you for joining us today in this session. We are doing introduction to SPSS. And I have just done the overview of SPSS. And now we are going to the practical part of it, so that everything we have talked about as stories, they become real. So maximize your SPSS. Okay, nice. Nice. So here we can see we have data view, bottom left corner, we have data view tab, and we have variable view tab. At the top, we have file, we have edit, we have view, we have data, we have transform, we have analyze, we have graphs, we have utilities, we have extensions, we have windows, we have help. So all those things perform different things that we want to perform. So we said we are going to the variable view. Variable view is where we set the variables for our data. We set variables for the data that we're going to input. So I just have here a common file. I just have here a common file that we can use as a template for learning this. So I'll just be able to use it to, as you present, because I'll be reading what we do step by step. And then, of course, you'll also have it at your end, and you can be able to do that. So we have talked about variable, how to familiarize ourselves with the variable view, because it's where we are going to enter the data. So the variable view, we said it has name, it has type, it has width, it has decimal, it has label, it has values, it has missing. Can you see them? It has columns under variable view. Yeah, it has column, it has a line, it has measure, it has row. So under name is where we give the name to the variable. And we said that there is a condition or a specific rule for you to name a variable. There is a specific rule for you to name a variable in SPSS. So when you click on name, so type there, let me just look at a case study here, and we are going to use that to start naming our first variable. For example, gender. So type 1, gender. Start with 1, gender. 1, gender. Gender. Click outside that box. You see, it is telling you variable name contains an illegal first character. Remember, we said the rule is always start with a letter. For example, you had a questionnaire section A1, and you want to write A1 to reference to the first question. So you don't write 1A, but when you write A1, it will accept. So type there A1, and let's see. A1, just type there A1. You see, it accepts that variable. So always it should start with a letter. So try to put space under name. So write there A, just there, just replace the existing, no problem. Just replace that one. Delete everything there. So type there gender, space, student. For example, you wanted to say gender of the student. Then click outside. It's telling you variable name contains an illegal character. That is the space. And it will reject it. You see, it returns to the default. So that's how you should understand the rules. So if you want to have something like two names, you separate with the underscore. So maybe type A_1. A_1. Click out. It will be accepted. Also type A@1. A@1. So anything that is illegal in SPSS naming of variable is starting with something that is not. Try to start with the underscore. Try to start with underscore while naming your variable. Delete that underscore A1. Click out. You see? So every time, as much as underscore is allowed in naming the variable, it cannot start naming the variable. Underscore can be used to separate two variable names, two names in a variable. It acts like as white space. So blank space is not allowed in naming variable. So that is it. So just in case you encounter that common error, just know that you're naming wrongly your variable. The second thing is the type. So just write correctly, name, type it correctly to gender. Type it correctly to gender. And the type there, now click on type, just click on that one, numeric, click there, the three buttons, three dots. So under three dots there, you see we have a lot of variable types. So we have numeric, we have comma, we have dots, we have scientific notation, we have date, we have dollar, we have all that, string, and so on and so on. So if you have something like the name of the patient, or name of the employee, or name of the student, you choose string, because we are not going to give, that is when you have name as your variable, maybe you are collect name of the student, and now you use string. Just click on it, and you will change the variable to be, maybe the first thing to be the name. Yeah, so just change the first variable name there to be name. Yeah, change that one to name. Student name, just write student underscore name, std underscore name. I think you can save time while writing the abbreviation. Student underscore name, yes, like that. There we go. Then now, that is type. Type is string. because we are going to type whole characters. And then width specifies how many characters to be allowed. How many characters to be allowed while entering the data. For example, how many characters should be allowed when we enter the name of the student. So just reduce that one to 5. Reduce that one to 5. And go to the data view. So under data view there, so we can see one shows represents the first observation or the first student or the first respondent. That is one. So under std underscore name, type there your name, your second name. Type there your second name. You see, it is not accepting the last letter, which is I, because we said it should only accept 5 characters. So go back to your data view and change to 6 characters. Then go back to your data view and now add the last one. Nice. So that's how that with it mean. That's what with it mean. Let's go back to the data view. Just leave that one there. Go to the data view. Decimal for string, it is always 0. You cannot change it to adjust because string is not a number. String is just combination of characters. So it's by default 0. So when you have data with the decimal points, for example, height, weight, and stuff like that, that have decimal, you can now specify a number of decimals you want in your data. So under label is where you usually write the whole question. What is the student name? Or you can now there write even student name in full. Student name in full without restrictions. You can give space, you can do anything under label. You can paste there the whole question and everything work well. From there, you go to values. So there, because it is string, we don't specify values. There is no analysis we are going to use or to perform on the string. But we will learn about values while looking at gender. So let's go to missing. So under missing, when you click the 3 dots, you can be able to specify that your data has no missing values. The data has discrete missing values. You can also be able to put there if there is discrete missing values. Maybe you want to use a particular number, for example, 1000 to signify that this is a missing value. You can proceed and do that. But if you don't want, just always leave it as no missing value. Just leave it as no missing value. For this case, we can, because sometimes this one is also important sometimes because we may know that it is by default. It is, we are the one who wanted it to have missing values, not that someone forgot to enter the values. So it's sometimes good to tell other people that actually the missing value there was not forgotten, but it is just because it is supposed to be like that. And then now you can go to columns. Columns specifies the length of the column, the width of the column in the data view, the width of the column in the data view. So we can reduce that one to 4, reduce it to 4. And go check the data view. Go check the data view. You see how it has stretched the first column. The first column has been stretched, has been reduced. So that is the essence of that column. So when you go to the variable view, and adjust the column accordingly, you can increase to 10. And now go to the data view. You can see it is larger than the others because others are 8 by default. So you can either set that or leave it the way you want. depending on the why do we need it. Then let's proceed to the variable view. Alignment is where you want to position your values. So it is left aligned, so you can change to right align. First of all, go to your view and check where is it aligned. It is to the left. So go to the variable view and change to the right. So there is where you can, that's how you can use the alignment. And you can see it is to the right. You can also put it to the center if you want. That is what the alignment does. And measure, go to measure. So because the data is string, we cannot see scale there. We cannot see scale there because data is string. So string data, that means that string data is a kind of categorical data. And if it is categorical data and if it has no order into it, it is nominal. If it has order into it, it is ordinal. So in this case, it's by default nominal because it has no order. But you can still change to ordinal if it could have been an order. And then we will go to explore it more while looking at another variable because we have already oriented ourselves about it, about ordinal, about nominal, about scale. So let's go to the roles. Roles, a role and a role, it has input, target, both, none, and stuff like that. So here you can just leave everything input, but sometimes if you have a target variable, you can just call it target variable. Target variable is specifically, it is important for you to specify if you want to specify this while maybe building something like a model. If you're building something like a model, you can be able to specify the target variable. But if you don't want to specify the target variable, you can just leave everything as input. So let's go to the second variable, gender. Create a second variable, gender. And this time now we are going faster. So gender type for gender, we are going to say it is numeric. And decimal, there's no decimal, so reduce decimal to 0. Label, the gender of the student. Values, you can now change those under the three dots. Click on the three dots. You can now see there, you can give the value label to your data. So that means, for example, you want male to be 1 and female to be 2. So value, you say 1, label, you say male. Or maybe 0, 1, depending on what you want. Either 0 or 1 or 2, you can start from anywhere because as long as you know what you'll be doing, you have no restrictions about that. So this one is also very important because it's like you're creating data validation scheme. That anytime you enter value that is not in the drop downs, it will be able to alarm you that you are entering something that is not there. So that is how we do. Then you click add and then you click OK. And then missing, you can define missing, but for us, there's no need for that. Specifically, we advise you, if you don't understand the essence of doing that, you should not commit yourself because sometimes, unless you tell someone given the SPSS data can be able to check that when he sees this value, it means missing, unless you are going to analyze data yourself. So we don't want to use that. So you go to the columns. Columns is okay. Everything, just leave it at 8. Even change the, okay, the name, just leave it the way it is, no problem. Alignment, everything to the right. Okay, the way you want. Measures of scale. So gender, it is nominal. So change that one. Click on unknown to nominal. So you see there now we have scale because it is numeric data type. And then we can create a third variable. We can create a third variable, age. So age, we are going to create age. Age is numeric. We know that age is numeric. And age has no decimal points. With it, we are just going to leave the default with it. Age has no decimal points, so reduce to 0. The label, you can say the age of the students. Or age of the student, and then the value there is no label value there because it is, we just want it to be scale. Someone can enter the age specifically. Unless we have age bracket, is where we can be able to add the scale there. So missing, leave alone missing column. Some of these usually leave them as default. So age change to scale from nominal to scale measure. From nominal to scale. Just like that. So we have created three labels. So I want us to, three variables. So I want us to create another variable that is ordinal type, satisfaction. Maybe we are looking at the student satisfaction with the institution services. So we just type their satisfaction, and it is going to be numeric because we are going to assign values. So it is numeric because we are going to give one to be very satisfied, okay, maybe very unsatisfied, things like that. So with it is 8 by default. Decimal is 0, set decimal to 0. And the label there is satisfaction, student satisfaction. Just type there students satisfaction. And then the under value now is where we can now be able to specify. Maybe let me use the Likert scale that I have here. Likert scale is now on the scale we want to create there. So we have 1 is very unsatisfied, very unsatisfied. 1 is very unsatisfied. 2 is unsatisfied. Unsatisfied. 3, add 3 is neutral. 3 is neutral. 4 is satisfied. 5 is very satisfied. Click on add, click OK. So you have created an ordinal variable because here we know that 1 is very unsatisfied. 2 is unsatisfied. 3 is neutral. So very unsatisfied cannot take 3 and the neutral take 1 because there is rank. That is the ordinal measure. So go to measure and change from unknown to ordinal. We want to create the last variable, frequency. Last variable, frequency. So we are going also to leave it numeric and change the decimal to 0. And under label, we want to say, how frequently do you go to classes? 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 Or how often do you go to classes? So we can say first time, first time, occasionally. So 1, first time. Maybe we were giving out questionnaires to the students you met just abruptly after a class, and you ask them how frequently do they go to classes, and maybe someone says first time. Second one is occasionally. Second one is occasionally. 2, occasionally. . . 3, . 4 . 5 . 6 . 7 . 8 . 9 . 10 . 11 . 12 . 13 . 14 . 15 . 16 . 17 . 18 . 19 . 20 . 21 . 22 . 23 . 24 . 25 . 26 . 27 . 28 . 29 . 30 . 31 . 32 . 33 . 34 . 35 . 36 . 37 . 38 . 39 . 40 . 41 . 42 . 43 . 44 . 45 . 46 . 47 . 48 . 49 . 50 . 51 . 52 . 53 . 54 . 55 . 56 . 57 . 58 . 59 . 60 . 61 . 62 . 63 . 64 . 65 . 66 . 67 . 68 . 69 . 70 . 71 . 72 . 73 . 74 . 75 . 76 . 77 . 78 . 79 . 80 . 81 . 82 . 83 . 84 . 85 . 86 . 87 . 88 . 89 . 90 . 91 . 92 . 93 . 94 . 95 . 96 3 frequently, and 4 regularly. Frequently and 4 regularly. And you click on add, then you click OK. So that one is also another ordinal measure, because regularly cannot take 2 while occasionally taking 4. So you change the measure to ordinal. So that's how we create a template for data entry. That is the template for data entry. So after creating all these variables like this, you can go to the data view and now start inputting data. So the first thing you do in data is creating a template. So we have just created our first template. So you can go to file and save it before we put the inputs maybe in the data. Just go to files under the data view, is just the same file that you use either way. So you can go to save as, and maybe you can now decide where you want to save depending on what you want. So you can just save it maybe class 1 or something that can make you remember. So that's how you have saved your first template for SPSS. So you can go to the data view, and now you can start giving entries to your data. You can start giving entries to your data. So you can give you, first of all, finalize the first person. So the data here is, the first row is the one person, information about one person. Second row is information about another person. So maybe the gender there, you can click there and maybe give female. I want you to change and type capital F for female. And then click on age. So I want you to, you see now, that means that you are doing data validation already while setting the values in the variable view. You are doing data validation. Try to type there female with small f. Maybe something could be wrong. Just preview, change, go to your data view. Let me see what is your gender. Gender 1, male, female, values. Click there, let's see. Okay, so what you do, close that. So what you do, go to your data view, then type 1 for male. Remember, you have to now remember, type there 1. It does not know you are male and it does not know you are female. You must put their values like 2, you must put there your values like 1, your values like 3. But now when you go to an arrow, 2 arrow under help, 2 arrow under help, 1 arrow pointing to 1 arrow pointing to A, is when you can be able now to see your gender. So that is a condition for data validation. So every time you have data entry, you will not be typing there male, female, male, female. You'll just be using the numeric values so that you can be able to use that data for analysis. That's how that works. Now we can proceed with age. So age there, we can be able to give the age, your example age. You can just put anything there that symbolizes age, any value that symbolizes age. Then you go to the satisfaction. How satisfied are you with the lectures? You can give there 1, 2, 3 to 4, 5. Then you go to how frequently do you go to classes? Maybe there is an association between your satisfaction and your attendance to classes. Because you don't go to classes, so definitely you may not be satisfied. Yeah, so that's how the first variable we have, first entry, first observation. So you can create another observation 2. You don't have, just click anywhere next to the, yeah, there. And now you can have the second entry for another person. Maybe you can use your second name, your first name, sorry. You can use your first name, and maybe you can select the gender. You can give it the gender, but we usually prefer aligning your data to the left because it makes more sense aligning your data to the left, specifically for numeric for the string data. Yeah, it's good to align your string data to the left so that we can see everything in order. Yeah, for example, that the names. Yeah, and then now the age is maybe male, and then the so gender is male, and then you can now say the age. Maybe it's 24, and the level of satisfaction, can give anything there. And you can now give there the frequency. How frequently do you go to classes? And you can proceed like that. So I want you to do that for the 3 up to we reach the 5th observation. So just take example things and input there until you reach the 5th observation. Hello, can you hear me? Yeah, just input some entries there up to you reach the 5th observation. Some demo data, some dummy data. Yeah. Hello. So for gender, that one put there 4. Put there 4. Let's see what will happen. Then under just continue. Go to age. For example, we are assuming you put a wrong entry. Yeah. For satisfaction, also put 6. Frequency, put 7. So it's good to validate your data. So you go to the helper, down some a button there before help, down below help, and now you can see which entries are not valid. That's why it's very important for you to do that data validation setup in the variable view. And now you can correct. You can counter check who is Kate. Maybe Kate is male. It's a male is what? Maybe my male is 1, and stuff like that. Yeah. So that's how it works. So you can also change that to maybe what was wrong, what did I input, because you come to realize that during the data entry time, sometimes you feel you are very tired. You have inputted and very tired, and now you start continuing. Instead of stopping at 5, you continue 6, 7, 8, and maybe they do not exist. So it is also good to note that. So what we have already inputted here some data for good data here for 5 observation here, and I want us to use this data to maybe just visualize how frequently, but this one is not under this. We'll be doing exploratory data analysis in the next class, where we'll be able to import data from external sources. So I just want you to visualize this data. So you go to your graph. Maybe we want to plot a simple bar chart. Go to your graph, go to your legacy dialogues, legacy dialogues, legacy dialogues, legacy dialogues. Then go to your bar, simple, select simple bar chart, simple. So after selecting simple, you select on. Okay, then take your satisfaction. Take your how frequently. Take the last one. How frequently, or satisfaction, or even gender. Take to the category axis. just take that one to the category axis. You can drag like that, or you can just select and click on the arrow. Then you click OK. Just present that one. Just click OK. And you give it some time. So what is being generated there at the top is what we call syntax. So sometimes people find it difficult to work with the syntax, but it's also good for us to know. So when you scroll down, that's your graphic. The graphic that you have, you will see the variable label, the data label there. You can be able to add the titles to your chart in SPSS, of which we're going to learn that on Wednesday, which will be the second session about data exploratory analysis, and you can be able to give titles to our visuals. And you see the label down there. That is the importance of giving label to your data. You see data, the variable name does not appear. What appears on our output is the label. Down there on x-axis, below the x-axis, there is how frequently do you go to classes. That is the label. That is the importance of the label, to have the boss in your data. And you can still also visualize maybe what is your maybe what your age. If you want to save the output, if you don't want to save, you say no. Yeah, and that is it. So Marilyn, how are you? Marilyn, are you with us? If you can hear me, you can unmute. Or if you cannot, okay, it seems Marilyn is not with us. Ryle? So these are my colleagues, and maybe they are not in a position, maybe where they are, they cannot be able to talk. So we will proceed. So that is how we do a template for data entry in SPSS. Then from there, we proceed to entering the data. So in the next session, we'll be learning on how we can transform variables. Can be able to transform variables, how we can be able to create other variables from existing variables. And then we will be able to do some visualization from that point, adding titles to our charts and stuff like that. So I'm going to give you an assignment, and the assignment, I'll be sharing with you the assignment right from here so that you can work on it to create a template for a data entry. And then from there, we can be able to meet on Wednesday about that.